NBC's Savanna Guthrie interviewed Nick Sandman, the reluctant face of the Covington controversy. First up, some people.
Some people see as a young kid with a smirk on his face.
There's that some people again. One day I'd like to meet some people. Some say it's Savanna Guthrie. Then came Nathan Phillips' claim of a build the wall chant that apparently no one else heard.
Did anyone say build the wall?
I never heard anyone say build the wall, and I don't think I've seen it in any videos.
After a review of the videos, NBC News could not hear anyone shouting that hot button phrase.
So no one chanted it. But what if they did? Some say we're letting liberal fascists decide what can't be said in public. The Black Israelites said things that we can't repeat here, but it's build the wall that matters most. It's a hot button issue, some say, which is media for let's trash you. Then came the hat.
Do you think if you weren't wearing that hat, this might not have happened, or it might have been different?
That's possible, but I would have to assume what Mr. Phillips was thinking, and I'd rather let him speak for why he came up to us.
Sound familiar? You go out wearing that, clearly you're asking for it, because you're just a victim of your own choices and actions.
You neglect that they were mainly victims of their own choices and actions. Shouldn't we discuss that? Wonder if the hats had anything to do with your muted response.
Imagine saying that about a feminist protester and her clothes. Funny how the media, who claim their speech is always under threat because of Trump, are now dictating what words and clothing are forbidden. Then they blame the victim. Hell, now standing is even hateful.
There's something aggressive about standing there, standing your ground. You both stood your ground, and it was like a stare down. What do you think of that now when you think about that moment?
Oh, I would say Mr. Phillips had his right to come up to me. I had my right to stay there.
I don't know, maybe standing is the only thing to do when a stranger beats his drum in your face. But then Guthrie questioned why the teens would be scared of male adult strangers aggressively taunting them.
Did you feel threatened at all?
I definitely felt threatened.
There were more of you than them, but you felt like they were stronger?
They were a group of adults, and I wasn't sure what was going to happen next.
Okay, so get this. When a teen is standing quietly, somehow that's threatening. But when four crackpots threaten you, that's just good-natured fun. Meanwhile, the Washington Post whines that the right has seized on their screw-up. So after pushing this smear, they're now blaming others for getting caught. Some might say the outcry prevented the press from doing far worse. So watching the media analyze this mess, I feel like I'm watching a murderer doing an autopsy on his own victim. It must be suicide, they declare. Well, some say they suck. All right, Jesse, so we heard from the kid. Isn't it time that we see Nathan up there answering some questions, too?
Yes, I think Nathan needs to go get the Savanna treatment, but this is the thing. He won't be able to answer her questions. I just did a little investigation because the media won't, and Nathan Phillips, fresh off of this confrontation with the student, disrupted and attempted to disrupt the mass at D.C.'s National Shrine. He tried with a bunch of people, 20 of them, to go bang drums, invade the National Shrine during Mass on this day, and they had to have security block him and lock the doors as he attempted to gain entry. It's also come to our attention, this guy never served in Vietnam. He was a Marine, but a lot of reports are saying he went AWOL 4 times and actually had to be put in the brig. But he's on video saying when he returned from Vietnam, he was called a baby killer and spit on. You never went to Vietnam. So Phillips also gave an interview, and no one's even talked about this. He was talking about what he was thinking. This guy, Phillips, said these white students were in the process of attacking the black individuals. Didn't happen. They were, quote, beasts, preying on the black individuals, and he called the students racists, and he said the looks on the kids' faces were similar to the faces during lynchings in the South. Now, this guy's story has changed 7 times. The fact that the media believed this guy without checking anything, what else is the media being told and just running with? How do we know?
It fit their assumptions. I mean, the thing, what kills me, Jed, is the idea like if you're wearing something, you had it coming.
Yeah.
We've learned that that's not what you say to people.
Yeah, the nerve to say that to a kid, too.
Yeah,
And
you obviously
imagine if you
wearing
said
a
that
hat.
to a woman. Oh, you were wearing that. That's that line. Oh, you're wearing a skirt like that. You deserve it. I mean, it's crazy. And they're counting on. See, you just did that research, but they're counting on no one doing that, or you do it, but it doesn't get propagated, it doesn't get sent out. All they need is that initial clip and the judgments to be made. Now, imagine if you went out and you were at a march and you were a kid and you had a bunch of adults screaming at you, shouting horrific things. I'm still trying to figure out what this kid did wrong. I see he smirked. I see that. I see maybe he had a little bit, he was confused. He didn't know what was going on. He didn't assault anybody. He didn't even shout back. How many people can say that as a teenager, their first instinct wouldn't have been to say something back, to say, no, you're this, or they didn't even do that. These kids were on their best behavior, frankly, given what was going on if you watched the before and after. And I can't believe that we're still talking about a smirk from a kid because he had a MAGA hat on. If he didn't have a MAGA hat and that was not a pro-life protest, this would not be a story.
No, it wouldn't. And, you know, Dana, the lesson I learned, I'm never, ever looking at a viral video again. Because it is actually, it's so funny that it's called viral, because it's contagious, pernicious, and
it makes you sick.
And it makes you sick. Yes.
It does make you sick. The other thing is, remember back in the day, before the internet's
early 50s?
This would not have been a national story or an international story at all. It would have been a local D.C. story, maybe on the nationals, maybe on the national news, but unlikely to have ever gone beyond that. And so now these kids are having to go on the Today Show, which is quite intimidating. And not that Savannah's intimidating, but look, like, you're basically on your own there in a room. You're 17 years old, 15 years, whatever, however old he is. And what I read was that the left and the right was mad at Savanna Guthrie after this interview. I'm not sure why the left would be mad.
Yeah, I don't know. I have to say, Juan, I wouldn't have performed as well as that kid did in an event like that. That's like his first time on TV, I think.
Yeah.
I don't know.
His facial expression was frozen. He looked like he's terrified. I don't know. Now, clearly, they hired a PR firm to represent him.
How dare they?
And
I know.
train him and all that. But I just got to say to you guys, I don't understand how you made this young man into some, victim here.
It's clearly not a victim.
Because what you're saying is, let's blame the media. And you and I agreed yesterday, by the way, the social media platform that spread this, right, we don't even know who they are, where they're from. And
we know who the Washington Post is and what they did.
Hang on. And they have intentionally pushed out polarizing type videos intended to stress.
But the people who push them are always liberal media.
Let me
I'm letting you finish, Juan.
Well, I let you finish your monologue, but I'm just saying.
Control. Breathe in, Juan. Breathe in.
If the mainstream media had ignored this story, and I think Dana's right, I don't think the local section of the Washington Post would have covered this story.
Yeah.
But if the mainstream media had ignored the fact that the right and left picked up on this, then they would say, oh my gosh, why is the mainstream media ignoring this big story? But in fact, let me tell you, tomorrow night, I'm going to go watch a basketball game tomorrow night. The black Israelites will be standing there and they'll be saying rude things to me, my wife. They say them to everybody.
But you had it coming, Juan.
Thank you. But people don't stand there and engage. And then these
This is the first time they ever saw them.
They were waiting for the bus to go home.
No.
Come on, Juan. Let me just say, you said it 8 times.
Those kids stand there and he says, oh, well, I'm just standing there. No, he's staring down that Native American guy.
The guy got in his face. What do you want to do?
He walks over.
He directly walked into his face and banged a drum in his face.
You got 4 or 5 black Israelites. You got 2 busloads of these kids, and suddenly, they're feeling so threatened.
You have adults and children. Adults and children.
This is ridiculous. And then you talk about things like blackface at basketball games. If you want to bring up things,
you want to talk about that? We can talk about what that means. In another block, they have these events where they go black, they go white, they go different colors.
Yeah,
so it was a racial thing. Okay, we'll go look into that.
All right.